Welcome back to the Jim Toth Show. I'm Tyson Rewicki, in for Jim Toth. And while we were just talking about the Winnipeg Jets and all the fun that's going on in the cities, we are going to shift gears here a little bit and talk about something a little bit more serious. There's wildfires are creating disruptions for some of Manitoba's First Nations this morning, prompting the need for vehicle bans and evacuations. According to social media posts from Peguis First Nation, Chief and Council have declared a state of emergency for the community. And residents are being advised that there is a ban on riding ATVs and other off-road vehicles within the First Nation. Peguis First Nation notes this step is being taken to keep community members safe and protect infrastructure as the fires rage on. Anyone found driving an ATV during the ban will face fines from the RCMP. Forest fires have just become more and more prominent over the last little bit. Wildfires in general, especially here in Canada. We had the bad ones in LA a little bit earlier this year. And so to get a big picture, we're going to bring on Anabela Bonada, Managing Director of Climate Science of the Intact Center of Climate Adaptation. Anabela, how are we doing today? Thanks for joining the show.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Mm-hmm. So just in a general sense, can you kind of give us that big picture of wildfires in Canada so far this year, and then also what maybe we're seeing as the year goes on?
So far, we're having a bit more of a normal wildfire season. It has started early in some areas of the country, of course, in our western provinces, and you're seeing it right now in Manitoba. We had a bit more snow. We had colder temperatures this year than what we saw in 2023, which was that extreme wildfire season that we had. But it's still kind of like not enough. We've had an early snow melt. There hasn't been that much moisture in the vegetation, so we have that dry vegetation. And what you're experiencing, for example, in Manitoba right now is that really warm temperature. Like I just heard your weather forecast, 30 degrees Celsius. It's kind of early for that temperature, and wind gusts of 50 kilometers per hour. That's the exact kind of weather that really helps the flames spread and dry out the vegetation and cause bigger wildfires.
And that happened a lot with the LA fires too, right? Like just with the wind patterns that made the fires worse than they would have been if the wind was going in a different direction. Is it possible to track how the winds are going to blow just to kind of prepare places for inevitable forest fires as they come along?
Absolutely. So I was lucky enough to hear a presentation directly from the fire chief that was in command for the LA wildfires. And she said that that's exactly what they were tracking. And a week before the wildfires really hit, they had fully prepared the province for the state for what was coming. They knew that it was going to be extreme wind, really hot temperatures for January. They were expecting major wildfires. So we can track that. It's difficult. It is unpredictable. Like even when we look at our own weather for the next week, we don't really know what's going to happen, but we do the best that we can with the models that we have. And preparedness is key. If you're over prepared and that wildfire doesn't happen the way that you expected, that's better than being under prepared.
Absolutely. And you mentioned some of those temperatures being a lot higher than normal at these times of year. Just how big of a factor is climate change playing into this increase of fires that we're seeing?
It's really big. So we don't have numbers right now to say, climate change is making it twice as likely that the current temperatures we're having are happening. We don't have that right now, but we are seeing more and more of those kind of tests being done by Environment and Climate Change Canada. So when we have extreme heat occur, they come up quite soon after with attribution tests, I think they're called, just to let us know how much of climate change made that happen. So generally, we know it's at least double as likely that we're experiencing this kind of climate due to climate change. The bad news is we're not really reducing our emissions enough to slow down these impacts. So we should expect to continue to have very intense wildfire seasons going forward.
And you mentioned, reducing some of our emissions. Are there any other ways that we can kind of take steps forward to maybe prevent these forest fires, or at least the frequency that they're happening at?
Yeah, so apart, of course, from reducing our emissions, it's the preparedness side. So prepare. Our agencies, our wildfire agencies are doing a really good job of looking at putting some fire back into the land. So having smaller fires, letting them burn during the off season, so those winter months, so that there's not that much vegetation buildup. That's going to be a huge help. But then there's something that we all need to do. We can't just rely on these wildfire managers that we have. As homeowners, as residents, as communities, we need to reduce the places that could be ignited ourselves. So, for example, the vegetation around our homes or any sort of dry debris, we need to cut that back, and we need to have nothing that can incinerate up to 1.5 meters away from the home. So anything that's dry or firewood or our barbecue tanks, move that all away from your home as far as you can. And then you're doing your part to protect your home if a wildfire does get close.
And lastly, just because these have become so prevalent over the last few years, have there been any new innovations in dealing with these forest fires, like new technology, and obviously with the advancements of AI are going to keep going as well? Is AI being used at all to help with these forest fires?
It is. There's been a huge rise in technology for wildfires, especially after the 2023 season, which was major in other places of the world as well. We're seeing earlier detection. So there's different ways to go out into the field using drones or using satellite images to detect them as early as possible and be able to warn the communities and have these evacuation orders in place. When it comes to fighting the fires, there are some changes coming in, but those are trickier. There's a lot of risk involved. So it still seems like the ways that we've been fighting fires are the best so far. But there's definitely a lot of people working on this just to kind of alert the population as soon as possible.
Anabela, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it, and really appreciate your insight on all this. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
That was Anabela Bonada, Managing Director of Climate Science at the Intact Center of Climate Adaptation. And of course, we want to send our thoughts to all those who are affected by these forest fire or by these grass fires right now on Peguis First Nation. That's just a scary thing to go through, and our hearts are out, our thoughts are out to all those that are affected by it. We are going to take a break. Aaron Streeter will have your news at 1:30. And after that, we're going to talk a little bit about the new tariffs that may be coming into place that might affect a new industry here in Manitoba that's been taken off lately. We'll be right back after this break.